I always forget how great it feels to be surrounded by a whole community of fiber friends. Flock in Seattle last weekend was such an amazing experience. I'm so glad I went. We're going to talk all about it. I will see you on the other side. Welcome to this special edition of Gary Knits, Gary Rides, a Craftivism podcast at the intersection of making things and doing good. My name is Gary. I'm a knitter and a crocheter and a fundraiser and lover of all things Craftivism related. This is a little special edition. I recorded an episode last week that I said was going to be pretty short because it was going to Flock and I wanted to do a recap episode. So that is what this is. We're going to primarily be talking about my weekend trip up to Seattle for the second annual Flock Fiber Fest. It was a week of actually two trips to Seattle. I had a work trip early in the week and then I flew back up on Thursday night, I guess, for Flock. In terms of other things, I flew back home and had a Hollywood Bowl concert on Sunday night. We went to see Khruangbin as part of our series with KCRW, a band that I really, really love, but may not be the best band to see live unless maybe we had margaritas, but it seems like other people may have had a lot more around us. Very chilled and trippy kind of music, but not a lot going on the stage. But we had a good time anyway. It's always a good time to be outdoors in Southern California in the evenings in the summer and with friends and food and wine and all of that. So that is just what has happened since the last time I filmed one of these episodes. But I really wanted to spend some time talking about Flock. I'm going to, throughout this, throw some photos and some videos up. I am terrible about documenting my trips to these fiber festivals because I get so wrapped up in chatting with everyone and the hugs and the conversations and sitting around when we can and knitting a little less knitting than I expected. But had a fantastic time, and apologies for not getting photos with everybody that I saw and not taking more photos of like the space and all of that. But like I said, flew up on Thursday afternoon, evening, met up with my roomie for the weekend, Lynn, who had flown all the way from Massachusetts to visit, and we had a great time together. I had hung out with her last year in Rhinebeck with a bigger group of friends, and we met some more of those folks later on in the weekend as well. But we got settled in our hotel, which could not have been better located. It was directly across the street from the convention center, which is actually in two buildings, but the one that the Flock event was in was right across the street from us. Just a bit on the venue before I get into kind of what we did all weekend. Last year, Flock was what I thought was a very cool venue. It was an airport hangar, and even though it was warm, they were able to open it up and a breeze came through, but it was way, way north of downtown Seattle. No hotel space around, and it was a long Uber drive back and forth with not great public transportation access. This year they moved it downtown to, again, the Seattle Convention Center, I think it was called the Summit Building. It was a beautiful venue, super convenient, lots of hotels around, easy access for public transportation. One of our friends was coming in from North Seattle, had an easy time of it, and the venue itself was just beautiful, really open, lots of space, lots of natural light, and lots of maneuverability space around. It wasn't all cramped in like you sometimes can get at like a Rhinebeck or a Maryland Sheep and Wool. Lots of room to maneuver around. And they had done a great job of setting up lots of tables for folks just to sit around and knit at. There was a stage that was set up for some public talks. There were also classes going on. I don't know where the classroom setups were or how those were, because I didn't take any classes. But the rest of the venue, I thought was fantastic. They got people in early in the morning quickly and pretty smoothly, and then as far as I could tell, except for maybe a little AC issue early in the day, and I think there were some lighting issues on one end of the floor in the afternoon on Saturday. I was only there for Saturday, but I thought it was a great venue. So kudos to the flock organizers. They did a fantastic job. It was a great show the first year, and it got even better the second year. A lot more vendors, and at least from what I heard, everyone from the vending side had a really great show. So we got in Thursday afternoon, Lynn and I, as I mentioned, and then we had planned to go to Bainbridge Island on Friday. So our friend Shannon met up with us. She was the one that was coming in from, she lives in the area. So we all met at the ferry and got on an early, it was like 9:30 or so. We actually got on a little bit earlier ferry because we got to the ferry earlier and there was one going, so we just walked over there. Bainbridge Island was so cute. It's bigger than just like this little island, but it was really pretty. Did not hurt at all that the weather all weekend in Seattle was picture perfect, just like warm in the afternoon, but kind of cool for the rest of the day. A little cloudy in the morning, but like sunny for the rest of the day. Never too hot. And so we walked around Bainbridge. Our two primary reasons for being there were to go to La Mercerie, which is one of the hosts of Flock, but to go to the shop there and to also go to Lamb and Kid, which is kind of destination. I think they're both kind of destination yarn shops. Lamb and Kid is all the Lamb and Kid's yarn, and have really created a very, very nice space there. So we stopped in, we walked down through the little kind of downtown area of Bainbridge, which again is very, very cute. Lots of little shops, boutiques, a bookstore, lots of coffee shops. I mean, Seattle, the coffee shops are like Chase Banks in New York. Like at every corner, it seemed like there was a coffee shop. In fact, we were commenting like where other big cities seem to have like a CVS or a Walgreens or Duane Reade or whatever on every single corner. Seattle has coffee shops at every corner. We couldn't find a pharmacy, but we could find a million coffee shops. But we walked through Bainbridge and kind of wandered around because we were there early, and then got to La Mercerie. It was still not open. So they had this really nice little patio area with lots of tables. So we sat out and knit for a little while. The store opened. We went in. What a gorgeous shop they had there. It still looked completely full, even though I know they were set up an entire booth at the festival as well. I kind of went into the weekend with not a lot of yarn that I was looking for. I have a lot of yarn, and unless something like just jumped out of me, there were really just only a couple little things like that. Oh, if I find that, I will do that. There were some other things, not yarn, that I was looking for. So I went to La Mercerie without any particular goal. I was looking for, one of the things I was looking for over the course of the weekend was to try to find a worsted weight yarn in that brat green. If you know, you know, but it's kind of I would say it's the color of like a Granny Smith apple, like maybe a little more electric. If you were a kid in the I don't know if they had these everywhere, but it's a very much the color, in my memory at least, of a Jolly Rancher green apple hard candy. We used to get those sticks at the 7-Eleven when we were kids. So it's that kind of green. Maybe I'll pop a picture of the actual, it's the album cover from Charlie XCX, which has been memed all over the place for the Kamala Harris campaign. And I was looking for that color of yarn and a black, because I've been noodling around on an idea for a pattern that I'm hoping to maybe use as a fundraiser for the Kamala and Tim campaign later this fall, if I can pull it together in time. So that's the only thing I had in mind. I did not find it there, but what I did find, and I don't know where it is, but I didn't bring it in here with me today. But they had leftovers from last year's flock. So Mercerie put together merchandise for flock. So there's t-shirts and bags and da-da-da-da-da. But one of the things they had were these little sets of stitch markers. Very simple, just the round metal stitch markers. But they came in, I think, 4 colors. There was like a pink, a teal, a yellow, and a white. And you get a little pack of like, I don't know, there are 20 of them. So maybe 5 of each color. I bought them. They're great. I love that particular, that's probably one of my favorite non-locking stitch markers, just because they're very smooth and simple. And I've used almost all of them in my cabled blanket thing with the 80 repeats or 80 charts and all the color coding that I did. And I've kind of run out of them for other things. And I thought, oh, well, if I ever do another big project like this that has multiple things that I would like to color code, it would be cool to have another set of those. So now I bought another set. I didn't even check at the merch table to see if they were selling them again this year. I think the color scheme of the show was a little different, so I don't know if they had stitch markers or not, but they had a couple in their little bin there, so I grabbed that, and that's all I bought at on Bainbridge Island. I didn't buy anything at Lamb and Kid, but my partners in shopping crime were looking for some specific things. So we hung out there in Mercerie a little bit, walked back up the street. The Lamb and Kid is kind of right after you get off the ferry from Seattle. And we spent a good amount of time in Lamb and Kid. It's a beautiful store. I had seen them at shows before and, kind of know the vibe, but, sort of, I think of Lamb and Kid, I think of like bright pink and bright orange, sort of bright colors. I did not realize that like virtually every skein of yarn that they sell has some cashmere content in it. So the yarn is very, very soft and beautiful to touch. It's pricey, but it is definitely a destination. The store was packed. And if you're looking for some, super luxurious, high-end yarn in some really bright colors, it's a great looking yarn, and the space is really cool. Lots of samples. I think that really kind of makes the shop is the samples that they have knit up, because I saw so many people taking a shawl, taking a wrap, and like putting it on and sort of checking it out in the mirror. So I imagine that those samples are worth their weight in gold in terms of the amount of yarn that they sell. So we spent a good amount of time there. My friend Lynn was able to get the things that she was looking for at the shop. We left there and just kind of spent the rest of the sort of mid-morning, early afternoon, kind of wandering around, looking in different shops. We stopped, there was a little restaurant down by the water, had some fish and chips, and then we made our way back to Seattle just to give ourselves a little bit of time to rest, because I had planned a kind of very casual pregame flock meetup. I'd found a pub that was about a 5-minute walk from the convention center from our hotel. Reached out to the manager and said, hey, I don't want to book anything, but if we brought some people by, in the early evening, is the space conducive for a bunch of us to have like food and drinks and sit around and knit? He said, we have this upstairs loft area, which seats about 40, and it's usually pretty open. We're usually busy on Friday, but that's usually all downstairs at the bar. So I said, perfect. And just kind of sent out the word on Instagram. Had no idea who would show up, how many people would show up, but we rolled in there and there were already people there. We met up our friend Valerie, who is a Visit with Nana and Papa here on YouTube. So she was there. She had come in from Texas, and Gigi of Gigi Made It was there. Beth, the adaptive knitter, were already there. And then we sat down, and before we could even start really getting our drinks ordered, just a ton of folks started coming in. It was a nice steady flow for, probably an hour or more of people coming in. I would say probably at the end of the day, we probably had 35, 40 people. I think most of the tables had people sitting at them. We had a couple booths. had a burger, had a couple beers, and everyone hung out there for, I would say, 2.5, 3 hours. We left at about 8:30, and there were still folks there. I had a long long week already and a long day, so I decided we probably needed to and Lynn was on East Coast time, so it was like 8:30 was pretty late for her. So, but we had a really, really fun time. I think that the vibe was really good. It's always weird for me being in one of those situations where I'm like sort of quasi the host, because I feel like I'm popping around and trying to say hi to everybody without getting to spend a ton of time with any one person. So hopefully, if you made it there, we were able to say hello, and you were able to make some new friends. So I think people came with people that they knew, and I think people met people along the way. Professor Pearl, who's another YouTuber, kind of sort of semi co-hosting as well. So she brought a bunch of people. Her friend Melissa, who is Stitches Be Slippin', which is another YouTube knitting channel, was there. And there were designers. Casey Knits was there. A couple of yarn dyers. I know Sarah from Sea Change Fiber was there. Steph from Three Fates Yarn was there. And then just a bunch of knitters. So it was a really, really fun group. I'll post some of the pictures and the videos up here if I haven't done that already while I was talking. But it was just a really fun event. And my expectation is that Flock is going to happen again next year, because it seemed like it was hugely successful this year. And if it is, I will probably make plans to go up. It's an easy trip for me. And it really is, I think, the biggest thing going on the West Coast in terms of fiber events. So my plan would be to go up there again, maybe convince my husband to come up. He won't want to go to the yarn part of it, but maybe turn it into like a longer weekend. Because Seattle, I go up there on work pretty frequently, but that's all like in the suburbs. And it's been a decade or more probably since I spent any time like downtown in Seattle, and it's a really pretty city. It's the temperature was very pleasant, and I know it gets a reputation for being gray and rainy, and I'm sure it is some of the time, but this whole weekend it was gorgeous. So I'd love to be able to spend more time, go out and see some of the sort of outlying areas and other islands and things like that. So if Flock happens, and as I said, I think it will. My plan is to do this event again, just because it was really fun. I may try to see if we can, find a little bigger space, because if it gets bigger as the show gets bigger, we're going to quickly run out of space at that place. Although, kudos to McMenamin's Six Arms, which was the bar, and the guy who was our server, who had to keep running up and down the stairs all night. Hopefully it worked out well for you from the tipping standpoint, and hopefully it worked out well for the bar from a business standpoint. But I think everyone was drinking and eating, so I think it probably was a very good night for them as well. But I may need to try to find a slightly bigger spot, and maybe try to find space that doesn't have stairs that folks need to climb, because I know that that limited some of the accessibility for people, because I don't think there was an elevator to get up there. So that's another thing for me to keep in mind next year. But thank you to everyone who came out and participated in that, because I think it was a really fun event. And then we got up the next morning and got in line bright and early. The show opened at 10. The first 2 hours were masked. It was great to see everyone sort of complying with that, and making it at least for those first 2 hours accessible for folks that may have issues with large crowds and unmasked situations. So I thought that was great, and we headed in and began our shopping adventure. So I just want to go through my haul, and hopefully we'll remember along the way to mention the folks that I ran into. As I said, I didn't go into it with a big list in terms of yarn. Everything that was on my list in terms of mainly bags, I got. So that was great. But before I do that, I want to do sort of heart mail, and that's not mail in this case. It's heart items. It's things that like folks gave me throughout the weekend that I was just really sweet of people to to bring me things. Lynn, my roommate for the weekend, as I said, she comes from, she flew in from Massachusetts, so she brought me some stuff local to her. She had made this little bag, little project bag. ACK are the call letters for Nantucket. That's where she lives. And then she got me some stuff from her local yarn store. So a little Nantucket Island sticker and this absolutely stunning yarn. Let me see if Lotus Yarns. There we go. And it is 18% brushed cashmere and 82% extra fine merino. I'm seeing this sort of brushed cashmere merino base show up more and more. It kind of has all of the fuzziness of like a Surrey or a mohair, but none of the potential scratchiness if that bothers you. It is just cloud soft. And this is a beautiful, very, very pale blue color all throughout the the weekend. So I should mention on the knitting side, I finished my 2-in-1 bandana from Max the Knitter. Love the pattern, love the yarn. This is done in the Les Garçons British 4-ply, and so I had this wearing this on the floor, but it got a lot of talking. Discussion of these sort of like little scarf phenomenon, and everyone kind of mentioning different ones that they had seen, different ones that they had made, what they liked, what they didn't like. And so it was this kind of a theme throughout the weekend were these little scarf patterns. One of the ones that I have found, I will pop a picture of it up here. I think it's called the Blackberry Kerchief or Blackberry Handkerchief or something like that. But it's one of these little scarves, and it's made out of a single strand of lace weight yarn. And in the sample, it's a fuzzy lace weight yarn. And so I was like, in fact, I almost thought about when I was thinking about making something to take to wear at Flock, because you want to have something new to show off at one of these fiber events. So that actually was on the list of ones I was going to go through my stash, because I have plenty of lace weight yarn in there. And find something to make it with, but I ended up making this one, and I'm really happy I did. I'm definitely, as you'll see in a minute, gonna make another one of these, at least one, because it was a great travel project. Once you get the pattern, sort of rhythm of the pattern, super, super easy. But I thought this would be a beautiful one of those Blackberry kerchiefs in this pale blue, because it would not only work with a lot of the colors that I wear, but I just think it would be super soft on your skin. So that was, Lynn had brought me that stuff from Nantucket, and then my other friend Valerie, who again is Nana, a Visit with Nana and Papa here on YouTube. She had socks made from some of the rainbow stripe yarn from Laura at Always Be Kind Yarn, who has collaborated with me on like a number of different projects, including Stitch Out Loud and some knit-alongs. But she has a Rainbow Inclusive Pride self-striping stock yarn, and so Valerie had Aquila from a Lefty Knitter podcast crank out some sock tubes for her on her sock machine, and there was some leftover yarn, and so Aquila made these little, like, I guess technically it's probably meant to be a coin purse, because it has this stiff, snappy frame in it, but it's made from the leftover little bits of the sock yarn done on a sock tube, and I think it'll be a fabulous little notions pouch to throw into one of my new bags and carry around with me. But I think it's really cute. I have an idea of what the little frame kind of like looks like. I think it's just two like metal strips, but there's a bendiness to it, and they snap back together. It's a very satisfying sound. So that was very sweet. And then Professor Pearl brought me a little giddy bag at the gathering that had just some like really sweet little things in there, including this coaster. So true. As well, and this really awesome Maya Angelou quote bookmark, and given all my political stuff, a little sticker that says vote. which is fantastic. So thank you, Nicole. It was great to see you and meet Melissa as well. So that was really fun. And then the last thing that was sort of a gift, Tracy stopped me on the floor at Flock and said that she had been following me, and she is recently, I don't know how recently, but moved from the East Coast to Utah and has started a business making different notions. So stitch markers, she had one of those little yarn minders that you can stick your yarn on and carry it around and knit on. Her business is called Hap Bee Creative Studios. She gave me this little, it's turned upside down, but it's, come on, camera. There, it's a little sheep with sort of sparkly spots on it, Progress Keeper. Hap Bee Creative Studios, and Tracy's the owner. And so we started chatting, and she is going to be vending at the SoCal Fiber Fest, or Fiber Fair. I always get that wrong. SoCal Fiber Fair later this fall, November, here in Southern California, in Pomona. And I think she's teaming up with, I can't remember the whole list. But it was a couple other of my friends. I think it was Maggie Yarnaceous and maybe Cerulean Orchid were going to be sharing a booth. So there's going to be like 3 or 4 of them that are going to be sharing a booth or several booths together at SoCal Fiber Fair. So I'm excited to see her again and see more of her stuff, because the little stitch marker is very adorable, but I would not mind getting another one of those little yarn minder things. And hers were look like acrylic with like glitter in it, so very fabulous. So those were the sort of gifty stuff that I got. So thank you all for being so generous. And then so we hit the floor. Like I said, I didn't have a lot on the plate in terms of yarn that I wanted to buy. 2 things. There were only like 3 things that I really wanted to get, none of which I needed, let's be very clear. But Chip and Aaron from Fiber Hustle were doing, I think it's their first show. We're doing a booth with some of Aaron's yarn and then Chip's bags and baskets. And I had a Chip basket. I have a Chip basket that I got when he first started selling them. But I thought it would be great. That one just kind of sits in the other room with a bunch of stuff in it. So I thought it would be nice to have another one for out here or to carry around. And so we made a beeline right for their thing. Although unlike my experience at Flock last year, where there were a couple booths where it got crazy mobbed, right at the beginning, it didn't seem that bad at any of the booths this year. I mean, I think Explorer Knits had quite a long line to check out when I walked by there early in the 2-hour masked shopping period. And Chip and Aaron's booth got pretty busy pretty quickly. We were in the first school groups to get there. Ray and Kevin from Needles at the Ready were hanging out there. Michael from Piece for Piece Crafting podcast was also hanging out there. So there were a lot of people that were coming in to see them. And so we were able to get in, and I was able to get very much this beautiful blue chip basket, the large one, I think it's called. Yes, it's just called the chip basket. They had a little square, well, not little, it was a medium-sized kind of square one. I can't remember what Chip was calling that. The only thing that I had been thinking about getting was one of his teeny tiny chipettes. Like it's just like enough for like a little ball of yarn, almost like a yarn cozy. I thought would be cute, but they didn't have any. They didn't bring any with them the booth, so they had a really cool setup with Aaron's sort of album art inspired yarn on one area, kind of the rest of his yarn on the back wall, and then the chip bags and baskets all around. So it was a beautiful big neon sign. So I got that, and then I picked up one of their little progress keepers with the Fiber Hustle logo, which was great. And then the other thing, bag related, that I was hoping to get was another bag from that crafty little fox. So I got one last year, which has become one of my favorite bags. And so I swung by their booth. They were sharing it with NanoStitch fibers, NanoStitch something. But she had a bunch of bags out, and I got a smaller one than the one I got last year, but she had this really cute Seattle print, so it's kind of a waxed, I think it's waxed denim bottom, sort of stiff on the bottom, so it will kind of stand on its own, and then a drawstring on the top, and a little leather or faux leather handle. But I thought, oh, she had a really cute one that was like a kit with like 2 dyers had put yarn in it. Someone had done a stitch marker set, and it was this sort of mermaidy kind of nautical teals and greens and like some orange accents. Really cute print. But I thought that this would make sort of a nice reminder of where I got it, sort of souvenir bag. And it's a nice size that I don't have in the. I mean, I certainly don't need any more bags, but it just seems like I'm always looking for one, and especially as the number of active projects continues to grow, that I can always use one. And then the only other thing that I was really had set in my mind, I saw that Reshma from Hello Lavender had put together these crochet granny square little stitch markers with her oh my gosh, what are these made out of? Not resin, but like polymer clay. Oof, words. And had done a set of granny squares. I'd gone by once and it was like really crowded and I didn't go in, and by the time I got back around, I was like, oh no, have they sold out? But I found them. She had a couple of them. I don't know how many colorways or designs she had done originally, but I found that set, which I thought was really cute. I absolutely love her art. I mean, the fact that you do this by hand on these teeny tiny little things is just unbelievable to me. And so while I was there, kind of an unplanned, but I got them last year, and maybe this will just be a thing that like I do. But she did last year, and she did then again this year a flock themed one. So it has the little flock logo, and the sheep is part of the flock merch logo. But I thought that was just really pretty as well. So we got to say hi to her and Mike. Here's a picture. And then I just kind of roamed around, and except for trying to find the brat green yarn in worsted weight for the design that I'm noodling around on, I didn't really have a ton of things that I was looking for. I guess I can start with that. I ended up finding what I thought was close, and I've already wound it up because I've started working, but this is the colorway. It's called Leaf. It's a little darker than the brat green, and this is a Rambouillet, 100% Rambouillet from Gray Drizzle Fibers. Really great to work with. It is 230 yards per. It says DK. That's interesting. I thought it was worsted, but I was looking for worsted, but it's DK weight, which may change something. I don't know. And then I paired it up I found a really great black, and this is from a new to me dyer called Crow and Crescent Yarn Co. I think they were sharing a booth with Starlight Knitting Society, which is a Portland base. And this is called Void, and this one is, in fact, worsted. So I was able to get those, and that kind of was it in terms of the yarn that I was sort of in search of. Not all the yarn that I ended up buying, but I mentioned that one of the hot topics of discussion, as you know, I met different people, were these like tiny little scarves, and I may have to take mine off here because it's a little warm in here. Actually, let me go turn on the AC. Okay, we're back. Sorry about that. Hopefully it'll cool things down a little bit in here. It was up to 79 degrees. So one of the topics that kept going on were these little scarves. So then I had an idea. Someone had mentioned, I don't know actually how it came up, but someone had mentioned, that Stephen West had started putting out patterns for these little scarves. He did his Dustlin one, and then he had done this one, which was, I'll pop a picture of it up here. It's called Bubble something. It's based on a stitch pattern that he's used in other patterns, but I thought it was super cute, and it takes well, as written, it's five colors, but it uses like 20 grams. So you could use minis. And I thought that would be a fun idea, is to, because a lot of people, especially with this sort of doodle bar phenomenon, although that's DK weight, but a lot of people have like started putting minis in their booths. So I thought it would be a fun thing to do, is to just go around, and especially if I could get something from all of my Stitch Out Loud collaborators, and put together like a little set of minis, and then try to pick and choose and turn it into one of these little bubble scarves. So that became my plan, and then a couple other people in my group were like, "Oh, that sounds like a great idea." And then we had dinner and met a guy who was working on the Dustlin scarf, and I think he may be doing as well. So there may be like a little make along going on with the bobble scarf. Whatever the name of it is, I'll pop it up here. But so I just went around and got a bunch of different minis, kind of on the fly, trying to see what I could put together that mix and match and make them work, and was focusing on trying to get stuff from the people that had helped me out on the Stitch Out Loud. And I was like, oh, I'll go to the doodle bar, not realizing that the doodle bar is all DK weight, which wasn't going to work. So here's what I ended up with. Now, I don't think they're all going to work together, but I think what I can do is get 5 or 6 of them to do something that works cohesively, and then maybe, like especially with this one from Seismic Yarn, I'm pretty sure I have a bunch of neon minis or scraps somewhere in there in fingering weight that I can maybe do a second one that's a little more bright. But I think, out of these remaining 6, there's something to mix and match and do that. So I got, so I couldn't get them all from folks that I had worked with before, but where I could, I tried to grab some. So for instance, this is 3 Fates yarn, Steph at 3 Fates. And they're all mixed in terms of fiber, because this is yak merino. I think there's another yak in here. These 2 were from Explore Knits, which I think look great together. And speaking of the Brat yarn and Explore Knits, she has a new collection called Farmer's Market or Farm Stand or something like that. And there is a green, there is a very close to the Brat green colorway in there. I think she said it's coming out on September 15th. So I don't know that I can wait that long to finish up this pattern or put it out, because then the election is going to be basically done. But I think that if I get it sampled up in some other or something close, then I could use that to make wood for myself. Anyway, so these were from Explore Knits. This was from Sarah at Sea Change Fiber. Kolsch is the color, which I feel like I also have, yes, somewhere else. And then this was from Angelina at Art and Alchemy. And I didn't bring it in here, but she's rebranding. I'll put her new brand up here. I bought this. She's making candles and soap and yarn. And so she's rebranding. I think the candles and soap had been one brand, and Art and Alchemy had been her fiber. And she's putting it all onto the name of the other brand by this really gorgeous ginger patchouli candle. So whatever her new name is, I'll have put up there. And then I got sort of a natural gray from Rainier Roses, which is also the yak base, and then this kind of purpley color from Mtothethird. Cassette player is what it's called. So I thought that was a fun way to get a little souvenir project with these minis that didn't involve like buying full skeins of yarn. And I think it'll be, it's basically a single skein project. So if we all started here, and I think we're planning to start it like maybe next week and work on it together. So I think it'll be finished pretty quickly. It'll also be the only real, now that this 2-in-1 bandana is done, it'll be the only project out of my 7 or 8 that I'm working on that is for me. Most of everything else is gifts right now. And I do like to have something that I'm working on just for myself. And I think this will be a great, well, I was gonna say it'd be a great travel project it's going to be 5 or 6 little skeins of yarn to keep track of, because I think you want to do a row or 2 of each color. So it may not be a great travel project, because that's a lot of yarn to keep track of. But we'll see. I think it'll be fun. It's super cute. I love the look of the thing. So that was kind of became my obsession for the the rest of Saturday, was running around seeing who had minis and trying to put together a palette that worked, and you know, it was a lot of fun. It was like a little treasure hunt. But while I was there, I was at the Sea Change Fiber booth, and I said I had wanted to make another one of these, and I really wanted to make it in a linen. And Sarah had this really great base. It's a sport base, so this is done in fingering, but it's not going to make that big of a difference. And so I got 2 skeins of that, which I think I can probably make 2 of these, so maybe I'll make one and give one away. But I got them in the Kolsch color again. So this is her Shoreline Sport, which is 50% merino. 50% merino rambouillet, 25% silk, and 25% linen. So I got it in the Kolsch colorway and this colorway, which is Aster. So I think those would be a fun combo for another one of these scarves. And maybe what I'll do is I'll try to find another 2-color scarf, or maybe I'll design my own of these little small scarves to use up the second half of these yarns, because I think it'll only take. The sport will have less yardage, so maybe I can't get 2 of them out of there versus the fingering. So that was what I got from Sea Change Fiber, but it's a really nice base, and she had a sample of it knit up and had been washed, and just to show kind of how soft it gets with use. So also, speaking of this scarf, Les Garçons was doing a booth there, so I got to meet Max for the first time. I had met Vincent when I was in Montreal at their store. Max and I talked for a second about the scarf. He was wearing one as well, and how much I liked it and how much I enjoyed the yarn. I didn't buy any of their yarn there because I had just been to the shop in Montreal, but they had a special show pin. So I got that. They also had it on a bag, but I had already bought 2 bags and didn't figure I needed to get another. It was just like a shoulder tote bag, which I have plenty of. In terms of other little fun things, I got. I went to see Jinan at Cerulean Orchid. So she does a bunch of stickers and other kind of like little notion-y things, and I picked up some of her stickers. Some of which I will keep, some of which will go for little giveaways. But she had done this strawberry yarn as part of the logo for Stitch Out Loud. It went on the tote bag for Stitch Out Loud, not really the logo. But she had done this along with a number of other ones. But she decided to include this in her sticker collection, which I thought was really great. So I grabbed one as a sticker, which I hadn't had before. I grabbed a possum because I love a possum, and then I got the one that says "flock off" and the little fox. So they're really great. I love her illustrations. She has a lot of these sort of like little woodland creatures. I think there's a raccoon and something else, but they're just adorable. And then when I was at Mtothethird, she had a sticker that says "I heart queer knitters," so I picked up that as well. The stickers go on my yarn storage bins, so they're each, I've got lots of dyers and stuff will send little stickers in their packages, so they've kind of covered the I actually got one for Fiber Hustle as well. So then the last thing, I kept going back, and the booth was often crowded with people, but for the first time, I was able to meet in person Lauren from Treehouse Knits. If you've followed me for any amount of time, you know how much I have loved most of her collections, especially the Cocoa collection, which is the first thing where I found her, and then her Stranger Things collections. Both were absolutely fantastic. So she had put together kind of a mix of, she'd done it more sort of by color, so she mixed things from different collections. I know there were some Stranger Things yarn in there. There were some Gilmore Girls, and then she brought with her to Flock a special exclusive base, which was like sparkle tweed. So it was tweedy, but then had stellina in it as well. So it was like sort of rustic and sort of sparkly at the same time. But what grabbed my attention, because my mind was focused on these little scarves, and particularly that blackberry scarf that I mentioned before. But when I saw this, which is her Sleepless in Seattle colorway, it's, yeah, I guess some of the variation is coming in there, but it's this blue-gray base, I would say, with like more blue in some areas, which is not really showing up as well on camera here, and then with some sort of olivey brown in there. And this is, again, that 81% superwash merino, 19% cashmere, that sort of brushed cashmere merino. And this, I think, will also just be perfect. Maybe some white in there? No. Will also be perfect as one of those little blackberry scarves. I mean, I could hold these two together maybe, but then it's going to be a thicker weight. But I'm excited to give that pattern a try. Hopefully I like it, because I got 2 skeins of yarn to use this. Hopefully the pattern is enjoyable. If not, I'm sure find something else. So I got to hang out and meet Lauren. Here's a photo as well. And then the rest of the afternoon, just kind of wandered around, sat and knit for a while. Laura from Always Be Kind Yarn had a long drive, but just came down for the day, and so I was able to like hang out with her and give her a big hug and just sit and knit for a while. We watched, as I mentioned, there was a stage set up for a series of kind of panel discussions, and so which was capped off by Amy from La Bien-Aimée at the end of the day, doing just sort of talking about her business and talking about her creative process and stuff like that. But we moved up to the stage to see, it was Beth, the adaptive knitter, and Kira from Kira K Designs, talking about accessibility and ableism in the fiber community. It was a really great talk. Beth works with Knit Stars, and so she and I have gotten to know each other through that process, because she kind of runs the production side of things for Knit Stars. So she's a point of contact for all of the teachers. But I never met her in person, so it was really great to meet her. She was also teaching a class there. I'm trying to think of any other booth. Jen from Junie and Sai, she stopped by the sort of meetup, and then I actually got to swing by her booth as well. But it was just a really great show. It was just a really great event. I think that hopefully it worked out really well for everyone. We kind of wrapped it up. A group of us, Nancy from Trilogy Yarns was there. She and a bunch of her, she does another Zoom group. She usually comes to our Zoom group, but she does another one, and that whole group was sort of staying together. But a part of their group were going to go out to dinner, and so we all ended up going together to this kind of brew pub. I had another round of fish and chips, which reminds me I need to make sure I get to the gym this week. And so we met, so Nancy and a couple of those folks, all guys. So it was like 3 more guy knitters, which was very, very cool. We had a really nice discussion. One of them was working on the Dustland little scarf from Stephen West, which got us talking about the bubble thing, and so I think he may join us in our bubble-a-thon. We had a discussion. A lot of them have been to some of these men's knitting retreats which happen around the country, which I kind of peripherally knew about, but never had met anyone who'd actually gone to any of them. So they all have participated in at least one, and some in multiples of them. So that's something interesting that I might want to research a bit more in terms of when they happen and what all is involved, because it sounds like it could be a cool time. I always enjoy meeting other guys who knit. So that was a fun dinner, and then Lynn and I both had very, very early flights on Sunday morning, so we did not go back for the Sunday event, but I've seen all the pictures, have a little bit of FOMO, although one full day on the floor was probably enough for me. I think if I'd gone back a second day, I probably would have spent more money for sure. But I think also probably most of it would have been just sitting around knitting and chatting with people. But I'm hoping next year they continue to expand it, and I really would like to maybe try taking some classes or something like that if they continue to do that. So again, kudos to the organizers of Flock. It's really, really well done. If you are looking for a West Coast fiber event, I would highly recommend it. I think they've organized it very well. At least from what I heard and what I saw, I did not see any significant problems with the event. Great location, lots of food options like right around there, so we were able to pop downstairs and get a bite to eat during lunch. And again, our hotel, which was the Hyatt Regency, very well located for the event. So that is it on Flock. There is just one other thing that I wanted to mention. This is going longer than I expected, but it's on the Craftivism front. If you may have caught my live earlier this week, but I have teamed up with Friday Morning Charity, and we are going to be running a accessories and garment drive for Knit the Rainbow, running from August 15th until the end of September. So Friday Morning Charity is run by Kelly and Amanda. It is primarily hosted in their Facebook group. So if you go over to Facebook, and I'll put the links down below to the Friday Morning Charity group, get signed on there. Each quarter, or roughly each quarter, they choose a charity primarily focused on women and kids in need, and then they organize a drive, whether it's hats or scarves or gloves or whatever, blankets, whatever the specific charity is looking for, they organize a drive. And then I think they have like 200 and something members right now, and everyone in the group sort of works on that and post pictures of their progress, etc., and knit some hats and scarves and gloves for whatever the charity. So they reached out to me and said, we want to do something with you, and we're interested in working with Knit the Rainbow. We know that you've worked with Austin and Knit the Rainbow before, and would you like to collaborate? I said, absolutely. It is a cause that is very dear to my heart, and it's perfect timing in terms of their, starting to ramp up the collection part of their mission. So head over to Friday Morning Charity and sign up there. I am also going to post a thread in my Ravelry group. So the Ravelry group, and I need to change this in the show notes, was originally the End AIDS Knit Alongs and Crochet Alongs Ravelry group. Since those are going to become less frequent, although we'll still be doing something for AIDS Life Cycle on that front, I just kind of rebranded the group as Gary Knits, Gary Rides, a Craftivism podcast group. I'm going to start a thread over there for the Knit the Rainbow accessories drive. So if you pop over there, post some pictures, let me know what you're working on. That would be fantastic. I am going to randomly, I don't know exactly how often it's going to happen, but I'm going to randomly pop into the Friday Morning Charity Facebook group and put up a post saying, like, show me what we're working on, and then draw some names for giveaways. Same thing on the Ravelry group. It's at some point during the event, a couple times probably, I will jump on there and just pick some random posts and do some giveaways of some yarn. I have a pretty decent sized yarn giveaway pile, and I'd like to kind of whittle it down since I'm not doing as many knit alongs and things like that. So if you want to win some fun yarn, just go over there and in either place and post what you're working on for the drive. As I mentioned, starts on the 15th, which is probably when this thing will go up, and is going to run through September 30th. I will say Austin is in the process of relocating his operation, and so he's asking folks to not mail anything in just yet, so hold on till closer to the end of the drive, and then they're going to usually don't open up submissions until sometime in September anyway, so it'll be closer to the end of September. But as soon as I get that address, I will update everyone. Again, if you are unfamiliar with Knit the Rainbow, they are an organization that collects and then distributes cold weather accessories and garments, so hats and scarves and gloves and socks and sweaters, basically anything that you can wear when it's cold outside, to homeless LGBTQ plus youth in New York, New Jersey, Chicago, and Detroit. And they basically will take whatever you would like to make. They always, tell me, and I will pass this on, that, socks are by far the number one most requested item. They could be any weight, any material. They get a lot of hats, but they're always welcome to happy to have more. Gloves, mitts, mittens, and ear warmers were also, that was new to me, also highly requested from the youth that they serve. So if you do charity knitting and would like to get involved, definitely, it's a great cause, and we will. They're going to be, Amanda and Keller are going to be keeping track of how many items they get made for Knit the Rainbow. So hopefully you will be able to help out and maybe win some prizes along the way. So that was the only other thing that I wanted to mention in this not so short, abbreviated episode. I will probably be back in 2 weeks' time with a regular episode with what I've been working on, and hopefully I better have some FOs at that point. So thanks for this. I hope you enjoyed the flock recap. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.